Welcome back to Late Night at the Movies on the Late Night Chat Network, your first stop for pop culture talk. This is episode 59, Kill Bill, Volume 1.
I was 5 and he was 6. We rode on horses made of sticks. He wore black and I wore white. He would always win the fight. Bang, bang, he shot me down. Bang, bang, I hit the ground. Bang, bang, that awful sound. Bang, bang, my baby shot me down. Seasons came and changed the time.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Late Night at the Movies. As I said, this is episode 59, and we're talking about Kill Bill, Volume 1 here today. And we're actually doing something special where, even though, Tarantino himself considers this to be one film, we're going to be doing it by Volume 1, Volume 2. Obviously, some of our thoughts in this discussion here today will carry over to, also commenting on Volume 2. But make sure to check back next week. We will be releasing Volume 2, the second episode, second part of this conversation. And there will be no late night letterbox that week as a result of that. So we felt we should do it big. We got a guest here with us today who made this pick. And take it away, Julie, if you want to do the intro here for this.
Okay, so yeah, as Nico was saying, obviously we have familiar faces here today, but now we also have Parth. Parth is here on the episode today. This is Parth's pick.
Yeah.
It's also kind of...
Woo! Thank you for the invite, y'all.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us.
So I have seen bits and pieces of this movie, I'm pretty sure, but I also am like loosely mixing it up with Death Proof, I think, because I've seen bits and pieces of Death Proof also. So I think that when I was thinking about this part one particularly, I was mixing up with scenes that I've seen from Death Proof. But anyway, so I have a little bit of a synopsis of the, like an explanation of the films at least, and then, but that's kind of all the history I really have with it. This is my first full watch through. But yeah, I definitely was familiar with some bits and pieces of at least part one. And that's about all the exposure I'd really had to it until just recently. So, Kill Bill Volume 1 released in 2003, and then Volume 2 was released in 2004. It was filmed all as one movie, if I'm not mistaken, and then just released in two parts. Written by Quentin Tarantino and Uma Thurman, and then directed by Tarantino. So, and I thought this was interesting tidbit about it. It was inspired by 1970s exploitation films and martial arts films, so I did not know what an exploitation film was. So the synopsis of that is that it is a film that seeks commercial success by capitalizing on current trends, niche genres, or sensationalized content. Often featuring themes such as suggestive or explicit sex, sensational violence, drug use, nudity, gore, destruction, etc., etc. Which I think is very endemic of what this two-part series is. So that rings very true for me from my experience with the movie. So the first of the two Kill Bill films, which the whole thing made as a single production and then released in two parts, originally set for a single release, but the film would have had a runtime of over 4 hours. They divided it into two parts to make it more manageable as a release, and but that meant that Tarantino didn't that too. And but that meant that Tarantino did not have to cut scenes to make it one movie, so he had it in two movies. So they released Volume 1, and then Volume 2 came out 6 months later. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have about it. And like I said, I definitely had not seen Part 2 at all. I've seen bits and pieces of Part 1, but this was my first official run-through of both movies. So, Parth, when did you first see these movies?
I watched them first when they came out. I was like pretty young. I wasn't like doing anything yet, and then maybe 10 years after that, and then 10 years after that now. So it was like a good chunk segment where I kind of was in different points in life and all of them, and so appreciated them all for different things. But yeah, I mean, I it was just a Tarantino movie. How could I not watch it when it came out?
Okay.
Yeah, I believe I may have seen this in theaters. When did this come out? When did you say?
03.
Oh,
2003.
I would have been 16. Yeah, I think I may have seen these in theaters. This may have. So here's the
Nice.
thing with this movie. This is probably my first like big exposure to Tarantino, because around this time I was actually going back and doing my due diligence and watching Pulp Fiction and things and Reservoir Dogs for the first time at this moment. But this was the first time that I was actually into watching movies that I could remember. And the perfect time for him to have come out with this movie and for me, because that is when I got into his stuff. So this is probably the most important movie in a way to me, even though Pulp Fiction technically was, because it opened up my eyes to like different types of films at that time, and that was like a very informative time. Like I was really getting into watching movies and going back and watching these directors' catalogs. But like this is the one I actually lived through that I recall, because I was too young for Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, and those wouldn't have been things that I went to watch or would have watched otherwise. So like this was the one that I was actually there for and experiencing in the moment of Tarantino. And then from here on out, I went to see every movie that he had come out with in theaters when it got released from after this film. And this one was just really relevant, I feel like, in the culture too, and still to this day is. I mean, we recently even seen that shit pop up in the Drake Kendrick beef when he referenced this, referenced that whole
Uma Thurman had his back.
Thurman, yeah,
he's like,
right.
you can borrow my jumpsuit if you want.
Yeah, I got the Hatari Hanzo.
I don't know if his fat ass would fit in it, but shit, he's pretty lean, you know.
But yeah, just to reference how it's kind of been in the culture. Like I think this is even referenced a lot, this film, by like people, and like I just think this movie
SZA had a song.
SZA, Kill Bill,
yeah,
exactly.
This signifies. I just feel like Quentin Tarantino. Like honestly, this is just like such a amalgamation of his interests on full display.
For sure.
I feel like if you don't like this movie, I don't know, like this is the most Quentin Tarantino.
I agree.
In my opinion, like this is really. I can understand why you wouldn't like this movie, but compared to some of his other films, I also forgot this was his fourth film. That's crazy. Like I did not realize that when I went to watch it the other day, and it says because it always
says, he reminds you of in the movie.
Yeah.
The fourth film.
Yeah, because he always does, right? But this whole 10 movie thing that he wants to do. But I honestly, it's been a while since I've seen this one, so I was like, holy shit, this was his fourth movie. And then he talks about, if you look into some of him talking about this movie, how he waited. He put Inglourious Bastards on hold basically to do this, because this is the idea that he talked about with Uma Thurman on the set of Pulp Fiction, right, with the whole bride concept. So yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's my experience with that movie. This is definitely a big one, but it's not one of my favorites, if that makes a lot of sense to you. No, I enjoy this movie, both parts, but it's maybe doesn't get in my top 5 for Tarantino. But that's that's how strong of a top like 9, I guess he has now at this point.
Yeah, no, he's a very solid.
His filmography is very like, yeah. As a huge fan, that just speaks more to how much I enjoy his movies. That this may not break the top 5. So, anyways, but I like these movies a lot. Yeah, Max.
Yeah, so I remember this is the Kill Bill is not the first Tarantino film I saw, because okay, so I think it was like summer 04. I think I saw. My parents took this out from Blockbuster, because I think that's the summers when it hit, both Volume 1 and Volume 2 hit the home market or whatever. And if you guys remember back in the day, Blockbuster, whenever like the new release, like the whole wall would take, like a new release would take over the whole wall, and people were just like fighting.
Big ones,
the big releases. People were just fighting for those, right, to get the copies and stuff. My parents rent this out. I don't know who Tarantino. I'm like 8 years old, 9 years. I don't know who Tarantino is. I don't know who Uma Thurman. I don't know any of this. So they put this movie on, and I didn't even know what it was. And you see this woman, and she's covered in blood, and I'm like, holy shit, what the hell is this? And then soon, like maybe a few minutes after the opening credits, my parents realized that this is like a heavy film, and they're just like, okay, Max, go to the other room. You're not allowed to watch this or whatever. I was like, oh shit. And then I would come in like every once in a while, like I'd just be, I don't know, like pretending to get a glass of water and trying to like peek from the kitchen, like to see what they're watching. and there's like an animated sequence. I'm like, oh, this is for kids, right? Like, this naughty little kid. I'm like, oh, I can watch this. And they're like, no, get out of here. Like, go. Yo, that summer, I remember my parents were renting the most violent shit. They were renting Kill Bill, okay, Volume 1. A couple of days later, they got Volume 2. They got Monster. Remember Monster with Charlize Theron, where she's like a prostitute that goes on a killing spree and shit.
Eileen Wuornos.
And they get a couple of weeks later they get Passion of the Christ. I'm like, can we get like
Holy
some
shit.
Can we get something for me? Like, god damn, yo, like I can't watch any. Every night they were kicking me out of the room. They're like, go to your room, like have fun or whatever. And so I was like, oh shit. And so yeah, so I would like see like scenes, bits and pieces of this movie, bits and pieces of Volume 2. I remember like vividly as a kid seeing those scenes, but I never actually officially watched this movie until like 2016. Like,
oh wow,
yeah, much later. But the first Tarantino movie I did see was in 2009 because my mom had the DVD for Reservoir Dogs, which was the first film he made.
Yeah,
and fell in love with it. I was like blown away by it.
You know, I cited that this may have been the first one that I watched. Now I actually take it back. I don't think I seen this in theaters. I think Inglourious Basterds may have been the first one that I watched in theaters.
Me too.
But I had this movie burnt from. I watched this, Pulp Fiction, and Reservoir Dogs all around the same period of time. I don't know which one I saw first. But I remember I used to have, speaking of Blockbuster, I used to get my buddy who used to work with me, who had a burner on his computer. I didn't have one. I would rent movies from Blockbuster and get him to burn them for me. And that's what I ended up doing. I burnt those 3 movies, Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, and this. And I will probably watch them all around the same period of time. But yeah, so I didn't see this one in theater. But I never even see Jackie Brown until like years later.
Yeah.
Because Jackie Brown just like, it fell between the cracks for me.
Yeah. Because I don't think it was. I don't think that
Brown,
one is promoted as much.
No,
like because of what the movie is.
Right.
But I adore that movie. But no, yeah. So my mom had like the Reservoir Dogs DVD. That was the first Tarantino movie I actually remember watching, like at home and stuff. And I was like, whoa, what the hell is this? And then later that summer, Inglourious Basterds came out, and I saw that like opening weekend, and that was like the first.
I just forgot that this was the fourth. Like, this seems like it came way later.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, it kind of is a testament that this is only his 4th movie, and it had that much buzz and like excitement around it, and
he put it out in 2 parts and everything else.
Exactly.
So think about the preceding movies. I mean, of course, he's built up that buzz by this point. Like he's only put out such movies, and I'm on the same boat as you, Nico. I watched them all kind of together too because like I was just young, and I had like a high school theater teacher that we were house sitting for him, and he put aside like a chunk of movies, and he's like, just go through all of these and watch all of them. So we watched like many classics, and that's where we caught up on a bunch of stuff like that too. Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, when I eventually did get around to watching this, I was like, whoa, this shit is amazing. I think, like you said, it is his most Tarantino movie.
I think so.
Of all, like, it's also maybe arguably his most entertaining, I would say, just because of how much fun it is. Like at times, I'm like, holy shit, this is a really fun. This is like a roller coaster.
The pacing is really good.
Yeah. And so, like, I watched it. I was blown away. I was recommending it to all my friends. I was like, yo, you got to check this out, and showing it to them and stuff. And so, yeah, I don't know if you want to do, like, a Tarantino thing later, like a ranking later, but I think I would put this in the 5, maybe at 5.
I definitely put it in my top 5 as well.
Yeah,
I'm curious where everyone ranks them all.
Yeah, let's discuss it at the end of part 2. Let's
But no, it's volume. Specifically, Volume 1, holy, like, this is, like, a roller coaster ride of a movie. Like, absolutely.
I was just thinking about, like, you guys are saying, like, what your Tarantino exposure was, and I was like, oh, I wonder, like, I had to look at the filmography and see what mine was. I saw Pulp Fiction first, but I don't know when it was. I didn't see it, like, until I was a teenager, so, like... Yeah, like, so I saw Pulp Fiction, and then I saw Inglourious Basterds when it came out, and then I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then I saw Jackie Brown, and then now I've seen these.
And
that's it.
You skipped Hateful Eight, and you skipped...
Reservoir Dogs?
Django.
I haven't seen Reservoir Dogs, I have not seen Death Proof, I have not seen Django, I have not seen Hateful Eight.
Reservoir Dogs was like a super like important movie, like influential movie in my opinion for me. Like it was almost like a big bang moment for me because it was the first time I'd ever seen a movie where it almost like what You know what? I shouldn't even say it because it'll spoil it. Actually, yeah, never mind. Cut that part out. Cut that part out because it'll spoil it. So yeah, let me.
All right.
But I was just blown away by it. I was like, whoa! Like I am not used to a movie like this, like for
Right.
sure. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, as far as like the main ideas and themes of the movie, like obviously she's been wronged by her ex, who is an assassin. The whole theme is vengeance. The whole
Is this a good
the
breakup
whole
movie?
thing. It's a breakup
Yes.
movie.
I think it's a rom com,
Yeah.
honestly, at heart.
Yeah.
A rom drum, really.
Rom draw. There we go.
Yeah. I had this is where it kind of gets fuzzy as far as part 1, part 2 for me and likes and dislikes, but I really like, especially about the first part, like the sort of mixed genre filmmaking styles, like that was really it piqued my interest a lot because it was like you could really tell what they were paying homage to in like certain genres, like the like obviously there's that whole anime sequence, and there is like these really pointed camera styles that are inspired by those old kung fu movies, which I think is really funny. There's a whole badass cast of female characters, which I obviously appreciated. I had zero beef with the editing, Nico. Zero beef.
That's a first.
Is that Sally Mae?
Exactly. I do not have anything bad to say.
Can I just say, I think this is the most perfect name for a movie of all time.
Kill
Bill. There's a woman out there and she wants to kill Bill.
All she
that's
wants
all
to do
you
is
need
kill
to know.
Bill. Exactly.
That's all you need to know, and that's all she does, and that's like it's awesome. Like,
And I love it. Like during the first movie, it's kind of, it's not really a mystery, but it's still a little mysterious of who Bill is. You just get like glimpses, or you hear his voice, see his name on a napkin. You don't really like fully know who Kill Bill is yet, but you just know that she wants to kill Bill. And so yes, it's amazing.
Yeah, and then like we talked about this recently, even on our last episode when we did Blowout, we talked about how like like seeing all the different techniques that people use and stuff like that. I actually watched the feature on the Blu-ray of this movie, and he actually talks about trying to do Brian De Palma tracking shots in this film, like with the Oren part with her in that place and following everybody around. He literally references Brian De Palma's kind of technique to doing that kind of stuff, which I thought was kind of cool just to bring it back. But we also had a conversation when we talked about Brian De Palma's Blowout about how when you go and watch other movies by the same director, you get to start to see the development of certain things that they do, like certain tricks, certain things they enjoy doing, certain callbacks. That is all on display in this film.
Oh, yeah.
And it's fun because this is the first time he's actually calling back, like, maybe not the first time, actually, because isn't there a Reservoir Dog connection in Pulp Fiction or no? There's the brother. Yeah, that's right. So, but he references so many things from Pulp Fiction in this movie and like other films of his, and the fact that he's actually making it seem like these are all taking place in the same Tarantino kind of universe in that sense. Like, I love that. Like, I just love how unabashedly like his interests are on full display in this film. Everything he's interested in, all the kinds of stuff that he likes. Like, I mean, it starts off with the old school movie intro to the movie. It's followed by a quote, revenge about a Klingon proverb.
Right? Star Trek.
Right. And then you jump all the way to the second film at the end, and David Carradine is telling you about Superman. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, I'm just like, you are fully just running the gamut.
He always has done that, though.
But I love it. It's never been as on display as it is in
this
movie.
is chock full of that kind of stuff.
He just changes it up so many times throughout the films. Like, he's focusing on.
Remember in, like, Reservoir Dogs, it really opens with them talking about Like a Virgin by Madonna and stuff like that, and so he's always kind of like had these like interesting pointed like perspectives on our regular pop culture that a lot of people, he looks at it things like in a very interesting angle. I would say, I think that what makes him such an interesting personality. But I just like looking at, like, if you look at the trajectory of his career up until this point, with Pulp Fiction, which was his second film, he had won like the Palme d'Or at Cannes Film Festival, and he became like this hot thing, right? Everyone was like ripping him off in the 90s. Everyone was sort of like trying to emulate his style. And then Jackie Brown, which I feel like that was like a subversion of like Tarantino, where it was more like meditative and it was slower and it was more like character kind of based in a way, and it was almost like a response. I think everybody expected him to make like
Well, it's also an adaptation, right?
of it. Yeah, that is true.
And it's a blaxploitation film.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, absolutely, like an homage to that genre in a sense. Yeah,
so it's very different than what we were used to. Up to
absolutely,
that point.
and so I think people were expecting Pulp Fiction Part 2, and he didn't do that, and that movie unfortunately didn't really do well at the box office, and I think some people might have been a little sour of that movie. I think now
one
it's
of my favorites.
That sucks because that movie's great.
It's a great movie.
But in the same sense of what he's just saying, that is the most un-Quentin Tarantino
absolutely
movie.
Okay.
That's the thing, right? Like that's what makes it great to me in a way. Right? Like,
Tarantino says that when people come up to him and say that Jackie Brown is his favorite movie, he says like, "Oh, you probably don't like my other movies."
Right.
So, and then like Kill Bill, he has said this on record. I don't know if this is still the case after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but he said that Kill Bill is like his most proudest achievement, because after Jackie Brown, he said he had to actually teach himself how to become an action filmmaker, and like this is an action movie, which isn't really the case in his other movies. They didn't have action set pieces like this, and so he had to actually like learn from scratch how to make an action movie. And there's a huge gap between Jackie Brown and Kill Bill. It's like 5-6 years between the movie, and this is more like just a pure ride for everyone who was like wanting something like adventurous and actiony from Jackie Brown. This is like kind of like him delivering to the fans like a kind of a fun, thrilling ride.
He actually talked about it on the on that Blu-ray, and I told you in the special features. He actually says that he respects action film directors more than any other director, because he says it's the most challenging type of direction 100%. You have to do is to get the action sequences right.
It's a choreography, you have to set up all these shots and all these scenes and all these fights, and no, it's insanely hard, difficult to do. And they got the legit dude, the Yuen Ho Ping, I think his name is. Like, this is the guy that does like the Matrix movies, and he's done movies in Hong Kong with Jackie Chan and stuff. Like Tarantino got the real deal to like make this movie, so he didn't cheapen out.
Yeah, that 1-on-88 fight, that was amazing. Like, the whole thing, so good. The music for it all, the sound effects for it all, they just got to do so much. Everything fun that he wanted to do, and you can just tell he's so inspired by like so many different things, like anime and cowboy movies and just like all these things. So many influences in that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even just like all the swordplay samurai movies, all that, and then just like even the structure of how the character is getting stronger throughout the whole thing is kind of like a shonen vibe throughout. Like,
yeah. I'd actually never thought of it that way. Yeah, that's
totally.
I was getting that major.
Totally.
That's absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Another thing randomly I thought about De Palma you mentioned, and I had a note written down about him because he was doing the split screen thing, and that's a De Palma special.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, in the hospital, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's actually what he references is that.
That is so true.
But then when he actually referenced that specifically, you're right. That's what he mentioned was the split screen thing. That was the whole Brian De Palma movie. But then it also reminded me of the tracking stuff in the Oren part. Yeah. That's kind of what it reminded me of in that part. But you're right. That's what he did. Yeah, he's a huge De Palma fan. Huge.
Yeah. Even the body falling into the water, like that's kind of like a Scarface homage. I think there's like a body falling into the bloody water.
Totally,
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like every frame has a like there's so many references, and you can literally spend like. Yeah, you can spend a lifetime just searching for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there's still unfound ones.
Like the yellow suit is an homage to Bruce Lee, right? The
exactly.
Game of Death suit that he wore.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah, it was full of them.
I mean, even the fact that Bill is played by David Carradine
there's another
from
one.
Kung Fu,
exactly.
reference in Pulp Fiction in the diner scene where he talks. He's just gonna wander the earth now. Samuel L. Jackson, just like Kung Fu. Even that is cool in itself. He mentioned David Carradine, and it actually came to fruition years later. He cast David Carradine from Kung Fu in this film, right? Like, which is like, for me, I haven't really seen a lot of David Carradine's stuff. This is my favorite David Carradine. I mean, let's not forget, other than, the guy died by, jerking off by hanging.
Let's not bring that up.
I literally was just talking about this before we started recording.
Yeah.
I was watching this movie in preparation for this, and I think it was my sister or my mom or whatever came into the room, and she brings up how David Carradine died. I'm like, can we not talk about that right now? Like, can we not like do that?
No,
Like,
but I loved Tarantino. Did you hear what he ever said about it? He's like, yeah, he just went out like a rock star. Like I was like a rock star. He went out the way he lived.
like,
Well, I did what he loved.
he's like, what is that not considered normal, right? Like, it's probably what Tarantino does every night.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, look at that heat. No, Tarantino loved it though. When I heard him comment on it,
He
like,
loved how Carradine died.
well, no,
What the fuck?
he just said about him going out, like, you know what I mean? Like that guy was a real dude.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I
no,
mean? That's what he meant. Like he meant it in the best of ways. He's just like, that's great. Like
It's terrible. Rest in peace.
I was literally talking about this before we started. I found out from like a really weird TikTok of like man
you
on the
didn't know
street
about that?
interview.
I remember when that happened. I was
No,
that was
I
the
found
first
out like it was.
big public. Like,
Wait,
yeah.
how do you know he was
Yeah.
jerking off, or he just hung himself in the
You
closet?
hang yourself and you jerk it, and he ends up.
But do
hanging-
you know
But he
he was
also
like
he had a rope tied to his dick.
Oh, he had a rope tied to his dick.
Oh,
I
interesting.
didn't know
Yeah,
that.
the autopsy said
setup.
he
What
was
are we
like
doing
hung
here,
in the
guys?
closet, but there was a rope tied to his dick, and that's how they determined that it was an accident.
Why are you smiling while you're saying that? Like that's what I want to.
Because it's crazy. It's like a wild circumstance. But it's because in the way in which I found out, because I saw this really weird TikTok of like this random comedian on the street interviews this random homeless guy that is just already talking about it, and he filmed it.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you guys. It's super funny. It's so weird. Like it's just this random interaction of
yeah.
some guy in Toronto that was like,
Oh, really?
he was talking to like a random Toronto homeless man. And he was like, "Dude, David Carradine, he just fucking died." Blah blah blah. And it's this crazy video. Anyway,
It was
that's how I
tragic.
found out. That's how I found out who David Carradine was.
Yeah, Kung Fu.
Yeah.
From the show.
I remember from the
Crazy.
Mad TV parody of when they had like Steven Seagal.
Oh yeah,
They actually had the real David Carradine on
played
there.
by Will Sasso. The Steve.
Yeah. That was classic. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, should we get into scenes?
Wait, likes, dislikes? Any dislikes?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Or do you have? Any?
I was like really appreciative of the mixed genre filmmaking, and that the way it was edited was like seamless, and I had no problems with that at all. And I think the casting was amazing.
Mm.
That's all I wrote. I really liked it. That's all I had.
You know, this might sound bad in a way, but me personally, I don't think like I think Uma Thurman's really good casting because she's kind of odd looking to me. Like I don't think she's like super hot for me.
She has like wide set eyes.
Yeah, she's good looking, but I'm also not like distracted by like, you know what I mean? Like she's not like, yeah. So I think she's really good casting in this. Also, she's like one of the best actresses I've ever seen. Like that he's able to like make her look fucked up and everything he's done. Like Pulp Fiction, she looks fucking terrible in like after she has the goatee.
I mean,
and
wouldn't
like,
anybody? No.
Right. No, of course, but she just looks like so good when she gets like fucked up in these movies. I know I'm right. Like the whole scene with her. I mean, it's jumping ahead, but in the second film where she comes out of the grave, like how she looks like all the dust coming off of her.
Yeah.
She's just down to do this kind of shit.
You know,
that's why I like her like a lot. That's
She
what I mean. Like all respect to Uma Thurman. I like her a lot. I'm glad that she is who she is. I don't think it would have worked with a lot of other women, honestly, at this time. I don't know. She pulls it off, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
I fully agree. I think she kind of knew Tarantino's vision because she was part of Pulp Fiction. She just like she brought some of that over to this movie, and so I think Tarantino was happy with that. He was like, that came out well. It's gonna happen again, and it did. And like just like some of her like dramatic facial expressions and just some of those like really dramatic scenes, like you're saying, I think those really work for this kind of character.
I mean, shout out to Tarantino because I don't think any filmmaker in Hollywood is looking at Uma Thurman and is going, "Oh, I can make an action movie with this girl." Like nobody, and for him to have that vision and this is an iconic role. This is probably this and Mia Wallace from Pulp Fiction. This is like
those
what
are my
we will.
two favorite roles.
That's probably what she will be remembered for, her work with Tarantino, and it's just it's amazing. Like I always like it when filmmakers like those, like Tarantino, like that, like they look at actors and they see things that no one else sees, and I think that's what he saw in Uma. Like he saw like, wow, like this is a potential for like a classic,
Yeah, and she's just down to wiggle her toes for him in the ambulance.
And there's a lot of kick-ass girls in this movie too, like
I was
Yeah,
gonna
for
say this
sure.
is on.
Vivica Fox,
I-
Lucy Liu,
I,
like
I was gonna say
Daryl Hannah.
I feel like a lot of these people, this is probably one of my favorite roles of theirs. Like, I mean, Vivica Fox at this time, between this and dating 50 Cent, she's never been bigger. Let's be honest. Like,
Oh my god.
she was awesome in this, though.
Yeah.
I love.
What
Yeah,
about Curb?
absolutely.
Curb Your Enthusiasm?
She was awesome in that too. Yeah, the black. Yeah, that was her name. Okay.
No, I watched Curb. Yeah, it was great.
It was it was so funny. But you know the funny, if we're just talking about Volume 1, just like in a vacuum, just Volume 1, Lucy Liu is the villain of this movie
She's the
because
best.
she
she's the
she
standout.
takes like
Yeah.
60% of the screen time as far as like the objective for the bride, I guess her
This
name
is my favorite Lucy Liu.
Oh, she's so awesome in this movie, bro. She kicks so much ass in this movie, and I love this.
She also did the Charlie Angels movies, I guess.
Yeah.
Angels.
But I think of all the
I'm saying for action films, though.
I think of all the like the what is it, the Deadly Vipers or whatever. I think Lucy Liu is my favorite of the four. Like, and this segment I think is my favorite of all of them.
No, we'll get to my favorite.
Yeah.
We'll get to my favorite later on, but then she's not. She's my second favorite, probably. Yeah. So.
And I think maybe the most time dedicated to them is probably Lucy Liu, I would say.
I don't know. Michael Madsen eats up a good part of number two.
I mean, they don't even. I mean, with Lucy Liu, they even show her like her background,
origin.
her origin.
But they do that through
she
the
is
anime,
important.
though, right?
Through the anime,
Yeah,
but they don't. You
But
don't
then
know
also-
you don't even
That's
know
time-
really the background
Time spent
information
on her.
of the main character. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know what she was doing.
She's
before.
the biggest part of this movie. That fight is the biggest part.
Yeah.
Of this
Yes,
film.
yes.
Yeah.
Which interesting note about that fight? They said like the fight's not even gonna last 5 minutes, and if you time the fight, it's 4 minutes and 59 seconds. Just a little Easter egg.
Wow.
Wait, which fight?
The snow fight.
Oh, when they're in the snow, when they're the
Yeah.
one-on-one fight. Yeah, the
Yeah,
final
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
I'm just curious to see if I had any
Hey,
more
when that
notes.
happens, bro.
I mean, the RZA
The music.
being on the music in this, contributing
yeah.
to the score was really great. Okay, here's a little bit of a dislike, though. I mean, far be it from me to criticize the RZA. There's a couple of moments I felt like the vibe of the music didn't fit some scenes in this.
When
film.
his music kicked
Yes,
in, yeah.
yes. There was a couple of choices that I felt like, because he was the one that did the score, essentially,
Mhm.
right? There's a couple of choices at specific parts in the movie. I mean, I'm gonna look through my notes. Maybe we can talk about it when we get to scenes. But I felt like the vibe wasn't correct between the music and the scene itself. I liked most of his choices,
Yeah.
but there was a couple of times I feel like he missed the mark.
If I remember correctly, I think most of his music was used in the second volume.
Was it the second
I
one?
think
more
it's the
so?
second they use more. This
Because I know
one they were
Ennio
using more-
Morricone and stuff is in the
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
one and all this kind of stuff, but like, but I don't know if he's the one that chose these the music.
By the way, the music in this is fantastic. I'm not talking about RZA. I'm just talking the soundtrack.
overall, it's great. Overall,
It
it's
is
fantastic.
maybe one of the like every song that he chooses feels like the perfect song that you. I mean, even the Nancy Sinatra one to open up the
Mhm.
movie, like it's so like it tells the whole story of the movie
Right.
basically in a sense. And no, I was gonna remember what I was gonna say. I personally do not like the. I feel like the pace of the movie kind of slows down in the hospital. Like in the hospital, like when that second chapter 2, the blood spattered bride or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like after she kicks Vivica's ass, right, and then it goes back in time,
the
right?
pussy wagon part.
No,
Yeah.
after,
Well,
yeah, the pussy wagon
Yeah,
when she
what
fucks,
leads into that?
when she's like in a coma and
That
she
shit's
wakes up,
just nasty.
Fuck.
it's disgusting and like,
yeah.
and then
It's
what?
like one of the most depraved things he's written. I think. Like that
It's
scene.
so
Yeah,
fucking
like,
dirty.
about the fact that they're taking turns banging her.
Yeah.
and stuff.
I mean, this is the
Yeah.
guy
That's
that
the lube.
this is the guy that like I feel like brought the gimp suit to mainstream. Like he's a nasty fuck.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is the one
Yeah.
that probably hits me honestly almost the hardest out of everything he's done. And
Yeah.
that stuff doesn't bother me normally, but when they're talking about that so casually, I was just like, "That's fucked up."
Yeah. No, but
like you're right. The gimp suit, I love the gimp suit though, but this is, I remember the first time my mind was blown. The first time I see it, I'm like, "What is going on?"
what the fuck is a gimp, bro? Like, what is that? Anyways, I feel like that's the only time I've ever seen that in anything. Like, no, but like that whole hospital scene, I feel like just the time every time I watch this movie, I'm just waiting for that part to end, and then once it gets into the
It drags a bit. You're right.
it drags,
Yeah,
and then once it gets to the origin of Oren, like the anime till the end is just perfect. It's perfection.
I do also think there's a point, and we'll talk about it in the second part, that also drags, but we can talk about
Yeah,
it
yeah,
later.
yeah. Oh, the second
but
one.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. Like that, not I didn't forget about that, but like I did kind of have a pretty visceral reaction when we were watching that part, the hospital part. I was like, "Oh, this is fucking vile." Like, I'm glad she beat the living fuck out of that guy.
He's like, don't forget if she gets dragged down there, don't forget. And he brings out this Vaseline,
dirty fucking bottle of
shit.
Vaseline,
and it's just like, why would you even want to use this shit that he's been using? Like, what?
It's so gross. I was like, "This is fucking bad."
it's like-
but
He's
like,
also wearing like a huge cross too. Another just random.
You know
Yeah, he's
the
a
most
good guy.
fucked
The
up part
hypocrite.
of it? You know what's the most fucked up part? That this guy's been doing this shit for 4 years.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that is
for 4
like,
years,
like holy.
Well, okay.
he's like, "Oh, don't worry, your parts don't work anymore, so like you don't have to use a rubber or whatever the fuck that
Yeah.
was all about."
To
Yeah.
your point, though,
Holy shit,
like
dude.
that is the reason that they do that stuff, is to build up how sweet of the revenge kill is going to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
But
To
he
show the
just went
contrast.
way overboard in that. Yeah, I agree. I'm glad you said that, because I did make a note about that, and I was surprised at how much this time around. I was like, wow, that still bothers me. This
Yeah.
scene, like
Yeah.
it's way.
But
too
you know
much.
what? It's not even specifically that part. It's even like when Elle is trying to poison her and shit. I just, that whole section of the movie I feel drags. Like that whole, when the cop finds her in the church and then till she gets into the car. Like I feel like that whole section
Yeah, that's fair.
is just very slow.
I think it would have dragged to me like the first few times I watched it, but then like this time around, especially, I'm like really excited about the whistle song. So like while it's happening the whole
Nice,
time,
yeah.
I'm like kind of whistling along and like, oh my god, she's so evil. Like it was more fun to me, but I can get how like if you're just watching it the first time, it is a little long of a scene.
I just know, like, I love the action of it. I'm just like, I'm trying to get to the action, and it's like,
Right.
like that's why I want
But like
this.
they were timing it with the song and everything, like, you know, right as the climax of the song, he's like squirting the needle and everything. So there's some like they're trying to slow it down to meet the song, but it does drag because of that, I think.
Well, I think that also speaks to maybe the choice that he makes in order and putting things out of sequence that he does. See, again, another Tarantino thing. We've seen him do it in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
He does
right.
it here. Another thing too, like Parth mentioned at the start, is like you don't see Bill at all in this movie.
No.
Like you see him, like hear him talking. You might see like shadowed, or like you know what I mean, his silhouette or whatever in certain scenes. But he doesn't show him straight on, which again, with like the Marcellus Wallace at first from behind when he shows him like all this stuff that echoes through his work of like, you know, like things he likes to do with his characters and stuff like that, right? And that's why it was so surprising to me that this was only his fourth film, because I feel like so many of these things that he does in this movie even inform his work moving forward, right? Like it's really interesting
for sure
in that sense, right? So,
For sure.
yeah.
We could definitely get into that later.
But yeah, that's pretty much what I had in terms of like, you know, major likes, dislikes written down. If you guys had anything else.
I had I think that the one that I'm thinking of, like to your point about the music stuff, I think it was in part 2 though. There was only one instance in which I was like, well, that was kind of abrupt. I remember saying it to Parth when we were watching. I was like, they cut that song in such a weird spot and then just moved on to the next thing. It was the only one that like stuck out to me, but I think it was in part 2.
Okay.
It was just like the song ended all of a sudden and it didn't really blend for me. It just like stuck out. But like other than that, like I didn't notice that part. Like with the RZA stuff, even if it wasn't part 2, like I didn't find there was a mismatch for me in the vibe or anything. It seemed very seamless to me.
I feel like 90% of this music is like our needle drops or other songs, right? So the RZA soundtrack only comes like here and there, but I think it's more in Volume 2 where the RZA is. He even uses music from Robert Rodriguez, like that Spanish song in Volume 2 or whatever. So I don't know. I have one complaint about the movie, but I feel like it makes more sense to talk about it in the totality of it, so I'll save it for Volume 2.
Also, I thought it was weird, and I don't know if you guys know if this is referencing something else. I'm sure it is. But the censoring of her name, the choice to censor
I love
her
that.
name. No, but that's like, and he even do it in this movie.
Yeah.
It's like the Pulp Fiction square kind of thing.
Yep.
Is that a reference to some
No,
other type?
he did the Pulp. She
He
did
did
the
the
Pulp
square in
Fiction
this,
square
yeah.
thing when she's like,
yeah.
that would make us even.
she does
That would
it.
make
Yeah.
us square
She
or
did
whatever,
it in
right?
this one
Yep.
too, and it's cool
Yep.
because it was her in Pulp Fiction that did it,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course,
Right.
right? But I'm saying, I'm saying it's similar. I feel like in the sense that was something that he said they did in '60s movies. That's like kind of like
The square thing.
Yeah.
So wait, what were you?
This censoring thing.
Oh,
Like,
censoring the
Why
name.
the choice of censoring the name throughout this? It seemed weird.
It's to keep her a mystery, I think.
I think so too, and it was
Beatrix
inspired by
Kiddo,
some
yeah,
other
Beatrix,
movies.
Yeah.
By the way,
I-
this is in volume 2, but the scene when they reveal the name is so funny.
Right. But Mark, what were you saying? Mark?
I was saying like I don't fully remember which movies it was referencing, but I watched some like reference video before the podcast, and it did say that like that was some homage to some movies where they would like do like a
Oh,
telephone
really? Wow.
noise or
I
something,
knew
right?
it. It
When they were
had
about to
be,
announce
right?
a character. Yeah, it definitely was too on
It's like,
purpose.
this is so odd. Why would he do that? I'm like, it must be an homage to something that went right over
Right.
my head, right? I
And
knew
then
it, yeah.
another little homage that I didn't catch but I saw in this Easter egg video was if you watch the movie with subtitles, he makes sure that kiddo is uncapitalized in the first one because he's just calling her kiddo, and then in
Yeah.
the second one they capitalize kiddo.
It's the name. Yeah,
Right,
interesting.
Right.
Yeah, I caught on to that because Bill called her killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I
But,
thought that
like,
was cool.
It first happens in that Vivica scene though, where she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is beep." Like,
Yeah.
just
Yep.
like first time I watched that, I'm like, what's
Beep.
going
She
on?
asked you how old you were,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, Beep asked you how old you
It
were.
was so weird though. And it just,
It's funny though. It's
yeah,
funny.
no, I like it. It's just odd. Yeah.
Actually, super funny story about that. When Julie and I were just watching it, we were watching like some crack stream, and it was like a video where it was
weird
bleeping
censored
that
one.
and then also censoring like other curse words. And I was like, oh no, we can't watch this because I need
No.
Julie to understand that only certain things are supposed to be bleeped. So like I went and found like the right version or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, the pussy wagon thing was censored, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
No,
It's
it was
super
yeah.
filthy, so I understand.
I saw like I rewatched a certain clip on YouTube after watching this movie. It's the scene when Oren chops off that Yakuza dude's head off,
Uh-huh.
and
Boss
and then
Honda or whatever?
She starts speaking in English,
Yeah.
and her that French girl is translating in Japanese, and she's like, if you guys bring up my whatever, I'll cut your head or whatever, just like this fucker here. But then
Yeah.
she says, that other girl is speaking Japanese and says fuck, and she's like when Lucy Liu says the F word, it was censored, but then when the French girl was talking Japanese, they didn't censor the F word. They were just like, I was just like, what the hell? Like, how are you gonna censor the F word there but not there? Like,
That's funny.
but the fact that she just says like fuck and then like a bunch of Japanese words, I always thought that was funny as hell. Yo.
Do you understand? Yeah, no, that's my favorite part. But yeah, okay. I guess we can get it if you guys are good. We can get the scenes
Let's
quotes.
do it.
Yeah.
I wasn't super detailed in mine. I just picked out 3. I obviously think that I didn't want to. I knew that there was going to be a lot of cross chat with like people were going to have shared scenes. I didn't want to go crazy, and I knew that one of you would, so I was like, I'll just bullet point mine. So the anime sequence about Oren's past is obviously like a major fucking love that part. That was amazing.
Yeah.
I also
the only time that he's used animation in one of his movies.
Probably.
I think so,
Probably.
right? Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
that's a
Go
great
ahead.
point too.
Yeah.
I didn't actually think about
It's
that.
rare that you see like a
Animation.
live action movie and then
Yeah.
switch into like I never. That's a very rare thing that you see.
Even for
Mhm.
him though, I don't think he's ever
Yeah.
repeated that.
No.
Yeah. Not to my knowledge. Yeah. Sorry.
So it's just like super well done, and like it sticks out a lot when you think about the first movie. I also just love the like sushi bar scene between like the dynamic between
so good.
Hanzo and the other guy, like the bald
it's so
guy.
great.
The whole fucking banter scene is so funny. I love that whole dynamic of that
Do you
thing.
understand?
Yeah, he was like, "I'm not bald. I shaved my head. Do you understand?"
That was one of my favorite quotes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Get your ass out of here, right? Like in the Japanese way. Oh.
And then like the whole sequence of like the choreography and everything is really impressive to me. That crazy '88 fight scene in the tea bar or whatever, wherever that was. That whole sequence, which is like super long, but it has so many funny parts and so many little homages, and so yeah, that's what I wrote down for mine. For part 1, anyway.
Parth?
I did not really write down things, so I'm just gonna kind of add on to hers a little bit. I love that sword gifting scene. Like it was like this, so her scene is the sushi scene, but then right after when they go upstairs and they do the actual gifting of the sword, I love that. Like how much they like kind of admire the sword and respect the sword and worship it. That was really fun and cool to me. I mean, I know we're not doing quotes, but just everything Hanzo says is amazing. Like,
Oh no, go ahead. This is quotes and scenes. So yeah.
Okay, excellent. Well, then yeah, I'm just gonna read a couple of the Hanzo quotes I really liked. These might be a little long, but I'll try to be quick. For those regarded as warriors, when engaged in combat, the vanquishing of thine enemy can be the warrior's only concern. Suppress all human emotion and compassion. Kill whoever stands in thy way, even if that be Lord God or Buddha himself. The truth lies at the heart at the art of combat. Fucking love that.
Yeah.
Love that so much. So epic. Gives me goosebumps every time. Anything when like some character has a healthy fear of God, but then like challenges it is always like epic to me. That's like saying like, I understand that this is the strongest power, but you need to become stronger than the strongest power. And so like I love that all those scenes.
I mean, yeah, obviously, I mean, you guys already mentioned that the Crazy 88 fight scene is the scene of this movie. I mean, that's the scene of this movie. I mean, there's other good scenes, but I think like everything leading up to that, including like you said, the origin of her, Lucy Liu's character, leading right into the actual fight of the movie. Like, I think that's. I mean, when you think of Kill Bill Volume 1, that's what you think of is that sequence, right?
Sure.
So I think it's kind of hard not to say that like that's the scene of the movie because it is. Like that's what I think of when I think of this one, right? So I mean, I like the other fights too. I did like the first one, I did like the Vivica A. Fox dropping in on her house. I loved how she pulled the gun out of the cereal box move and missed her, which was awesome. The quote, Black
cereal.
Mamba, I should have been motherfucking Black Mamba.
I wrote that down.
I thought like, again, they captured a lot of like I like how they didn't shy away from making the women get like sweaty and dirty in these fights, like the way they kind of did. I know that sounds like a pervy kind of thing to say, but no, but it's true. They didn't shy away from them throwing down. Like Vivica looked like she was actually, like they pulled it off. Like these are not women I would necessarily always think are going to be in these brutal fights like they did, right? The one with Elle in the second one is amazing. That fight. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but I love that fucking fight. Like
That's a great fight. Too.
Yeah. So like, I think if he was trying to achieve really good fights in this film, I think he would succeed. Like this was going to be for later, but I'll throw it in now with questions to ask the group. Is this his best fighting in a movie? The fights in this movie?
100%.
Right?
100%.
Okay, that's what
I mean, I don't really look at his movies to have like choreographed action like this. I think the only one you could maybe compare it to is Django.
Yeah,
the shootout at the plantation.
There's other action sequences though, is what I'm saying. Like but it's a lot of usually drawn out moments for people having long speeches and then something.
Right, it's not like an action. It's not a pure action to me. Like a lot of his like what you're describing.
So this has to be it, right?
I actually think that this house, like we keep talking about the showdown at the House of the Leaves, like from that moment that she cuts off that woman's arm to the end when she chops off Lucy Liu's head. To me, that is like my favorite part of any Tarantino movie. Like it's just pure.
I don't know about that.
I know it might be a hot take. I don't know if this is my favorite Tarantino movie, but that section is just pure adrenaline.
It's great. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm like blown away every time I see it. Like how she takes down like Gogo, that crazy like Japanese schoolgirl and shit. Like
so that I was gonna ask about. I mean, obviously the Japanese schoolgirl thing's a big part of their culture, but I was gonna does anybody here know if he took that from inspiration from Battle Royale?
It is from Battle Royale, and it's the same actress from Battle Royale too.
Is that the same actress from Battle Royale? I know he loves Battle Royale, so do I, but I've never made that distinction.
No, it's her. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I like Battle. Have you guys seen Battle Royale before?
I've seen bits and pieces. I've seen enough to know that it's related for those scenes, like the dick slicing and stabbing and yeah.
I generally didn't know that, so I'm glad that you said, because I'm like, this must be from Battle Royale. I said it to Christine while we were watching, but she's like, yeah, but Japanese schoolgirl, like that's a thing in lots of things.
Bro, that scene when Oren is in that like meeting with all the Yakuza bosses, and Uma Thurman is narrating it, and she's like introducing every character, and then you hear that sound, boom, like that, like you know what guys I'm talking about, like she's like this is Go-Go, like that like weird like bass like sound or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I laugh at it every time. Like all these little inflections, all these
There
little.
were so many good little sounds like that. One that caught me was kind of close to that scene when they started. Oh wait, no, I think that's actually what I wrote down. When they were introducing the 88, there was a little sound that happened. But the part that I related that to the Grand Theft Auto sound. Did you not? Did you not get the Grand Theft Auto fight? Yeah, I was thinking that was like the mission accepted or mission passed sound.
Yeah, it sounds something weird.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it, but it sounded so much to me like the GTA sound. I literally wrote that down.
I've heard that sound somewhere, but I can't remember where. Like,
I mean, since we're talking about sounds that he put in the film that were so important, I would say even the tipping water bucket in the scene in the snow at the end of the final showdown is the samurai swords between her and Oren there when there's that tipping water and there's silence and you just hear the bucket like going up and down. That's sick too.
Yeah, that's like a super Japanese thing for sure. And then well, my favorite quote of the movie is like when Lucy Liu says silly rabbit tricks are for kids. Like when you're talking about references, like this guy's referencing a cereal slogan, like what, like he'll pull from anything. Like
he's referencing just everything that was popular at the time. He was like, I'm gonna take everything that's popular right now and use it. And like think about when we were kids, we used to say that to each other all day. That logo hit, like that was a saying.
Silly rabbit tricks are for
you
kids.
didn't think it was gonna be that easy, did you? Yeah.
But like the mentioning of the line makes no sense, but it's just in there. Like tricks are for kids. Like what tricks? Like what is she talking about?
I also like how like Uma Thurman struggles in these fights. Like it's not like she comes through as good of a fighter,
like an invincible.
She struggles through all of these fights in this movie. She almost gets killed a couple times. Like
also the light switching, it goes from black and white to color back to black and white. Then for whatever reason, the patron of the bar turns the blue light on. Why is she like lighting the scene here? Like what is she doing? And then she turns it off. But it has this great shot of the blue light, the blue background, and they're all just black silhouettes and they're fighting. I mean, what an iconic shot! Like what an iconic scene. You know, I love this. Yo, she chops the dude's head off, then she jumps off the guy, splits a dude in half. Like it's insanely like the violence is crazy.
It's nonstop. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
One of the quotes. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I brought this up while we were watching it. The Crazy 88 fight scene, when it switches to black and white, I asked during, like, when we were watching, I was like, I wonder, like, if that was an artistic choice or if he did that because of all the gore and he was avoiding a rating. And then we looked it up just before.
In Japan, they have it on. It's not black and white in Japan. Yeah, that was a different.
Yeah.
Cut, right?
We looked it up just before.
There's two different versions of it.
He was avoiding an NC-17 rating here, which I didn't know was different than an R rating.
Yeah, because the Japanese cut, it's in color. That part.
Yeah, and in the Whole Bloody Affair, I think it's in color.
You know, it's so stupid.
I never seen the
It's
Whole
so
Bloody Affair.
stupid though, because the spraying of the fake blood is so like unrealistic. Like it's a cool, but
it's like a fountain.
I will say he did make it work for him though, because that's another great scene when the fight ends and then it pans like like you see it turn to color and you see everybody like on the ground just rolling around in pain and blood all over the place. Like that's a great shot where you see the aftermath of the fight, right? Like it's very smart that at least he cut it off at that point and you got to see like a shot of after the fight, like all the people like, you know, rolling around in pain with their arms, like their limbs like cut off and everything else, right? And you know, or she spanked that guy on the ass and fucking told him to beat it.
This is what you get for messing with the Yakuza.
You're talking about references. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I think that's a reference from Yojimbo when he like it's like an Akira Kurosawa film when he encounters like he's fighting a gang, right? And he fucks everybody up. And then the last one in the gang is like this pussy coward who he encountered in the beginning of the movie who's like screaming for his mom and he's just like, go home to your parents or whatever, like F off or whatever. And I was like, did he pull that from that? I feel like he might have.
Very possible.
Yeah.
I see. That's the problem. I haven't seen enough of those films that get a lot of the references. That's actually one I'm sorely like that in westerns. I need to really watch more of.
I feel like Tarantino has made people interested in that shit by making these types of movies. Like he'll make people interested in seeing like a Sergio Leone movie or all this shit.
Well, that's the whole reason why him and the Rizzo hooked up, is because they both are into those
Absolutely,
types of films, right? He literally puts parts from all of those movies in Wu-Tang songs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
That's what I mean. I do really want to watch a lot of these old kung fu movies.
They're
right?
fun. They're so much fun.
I just haven't really, I haven't seen a lot of
and
them.
I feel like, I mean, to me, the gold standard of action movies was always in Hong Kong. Like, they were always better at filming action scenes than Americans. And so I feel like this is like one of the few like American, I mean, I think it is an American co-production with Hong Kong. I think this is like one of the few American action movies that are like, that's like very well directed, very well choreographed. I feel like you notice in a lot of American action movies, not all of them, there are a lot of good ones, but you notice they would like edit it out, they would cut a lot, so you don't really see anything. And this is like very well made, very well directed.
Julie, did you have any quotes before we because I know we've been throwing some out. I know you had some written down as well.
I wrote down a Hanzo line when he said, "Funny, you like samurai swords, I like baseball."
Yeah. Throws the baseball at her.
Yeah. And I wrote down the Black Mamba line. I also wrote down another Hanzo line. About revenge is never a straight line, it's a forest, and like a forest it's easy to lose your way, to get lost, to forget where you came in.
Yeah. I got warm sake, very good, you understand? That ball is in my head, do you understand?
What about my name is Buck and I'm here to fuck?
Yeah. I'm here to fuck. Yeah,
and then he puts on the Elvis glasses. Again, another reference to
True Romance.
Romance. That's right. Oh man. Also, how about the connection between the Hanzo sword and the sword in Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction, yeah.
Right?
That was a theory.
And he talks about hawking a sword, but it's in New Mexico, and he doesn't end up hawking the sword. This is in number 2, obviously.
Right.
But that's just so cool to envision the fact that could have been the sword in Pulp Fiction. You know what I mean? Just there
was always that theory on the internet. Yes. Like, was that sword in the pawn shop? Was that a Hanzo sword? Was that a Hanzo sword?
But why would a Hanzo sword be in a pawn shop in West Hollywood or wherever?
Maybe someone else pawned one. I don't know. But also since you mentioned Pulp Fiction, there was another theory that this movie is Fox Force 5.
Yeah,
do you remember that they talk about Fox Force 5 and
Uma Thurman?
That was like her pilot or whatever. And
well, she conceived this whole idea of the bride with him. So I mean, yeah, you're right. It kind of all comes from the same place.
You know,
there's also an ad for the Red Apple cigarettes on the
multi-universe thing
when she gets off in the airport. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My favorite one was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when Leo was smoking the red cigarette, the Red Apple, and he's like, "Oh God, these cigarettes taste like shit," right? Throws them out or whatever. Like,
I also think that this is probably the most referenced of Tarantino's films in rap.
In hip-hop?
I wrote this down too.
Hattori Hanzo sword is used in so many different
really?
Yeah.
Tarantino does get a lot of references in hip hop, but I think
Kill
this
Bill
is
the most referenced.
Really?
I'm pretty certain because I don't think people are referencing like Pulp Fiction as much or Reservoir Dogs.
Outkast had a great music video back in the day that was like an homage to Reservoir Dogs. It was like the whole diner and the warehouse thing.
What song is that?
That's Watch for the Hook with Outkast, Goody Mob. It's a great video.
Okay, I have to check it out.
Yeah.
I also like like this whole thing, he broke a 28-year oath never to make another weapon an instrument to kill people, her finest sword ever, because he's sympathetic to her aim. Like
that was a great speech.
Well, that's in the second movie, but
it's in this one.
Oh, is it? Okay,
yeah,
it's in this one. There's also talk about it in the second movie too.
Yeah.
I like how he writes Bill on the glass when he reveals that it's his he goes over to the glass Bill. I love
Can't help but make the dot of the eye like
so cool.
Easy, like with the
it was so cool. I loved it. As soon as I saw it, I wrote my eye on that the same way on my paper. I was like, I'm sealing that one.
But I agree, actually. Other than that big fight, I agree with what Par said. The sword is my favorite chapter. Chapter 4 leading into chapter 5, which is the showdown at the House of Blue Leaves. That's the best part of the film. Like for me,
Mhm.
everything.
So you don't count the anime sequence before it.
It's good,
Yeah.
but for me, it's the sword chapter 4 leading into chapter 5 for that
Okay.
Oran. But yeah, that's my favorite part of the film by far.
Fair enough. But me, it's like literally the anime to the end, kind of like that part.
Anime's
and
great.
that's
Yeah,
like an
yeah,
hour and
anime's
20
great.
minutes
Yeah.
of just pure like. There's no flaw. I feel like in the sense of like pacing and stuff. Never am I bored for a second. For that section.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Yeah, I'm
also
with Max.
yeah, that is also a real Japanese rock band playing that he heard when he was in a store.
Oh yeah.
That
Yeah,
is
5,
actually
6,
them.
7, 8. Yeah.
Yep, and he gets them to
Charlie
take their shoes
Brown.
off.
What's that part?
I said he also gets them to take their shoes off. Another little Tarantino.
Oh,
special.
true. Oh my god.
Yep.
You know what I noticed when the scene when Uma Thurman pulls up in the motorbike for the first time, and she sees Sophie in the car, and then you see Sophie press on the gas and they show her foot. I'm like,
Yep.
bro, this guy can literally never help. Like he can't help himself. Like
So many bare feet.
The most blatant use of it, though, for me still is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's the most.
which one?
That's the one where she goes to the
Where
theater,
her feet are up on the
Margot
theater
Robbie, and
the
her-
seat.
Yeah. Or when Margaret Qualley's in the car and
She
her
puts
dirty
it-
hippie feet are up on the actual dashboard.
No, if we're talking
Yeah.
about the whole Tarantino one, it has to be when he drinks from Salma Hayek's.
I was-
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Gone. Like remember, he
yeah.
like literally puts the foot
Yeah.
in his
Yes.
mouth. Like
Yeah.
That is him
Yeah.
you know
embracing
I've
he's in
not
heaven.
seen that.
He
Salma
wrote
Hayek is
that.
so
He's like,
fucking
I'm going to do
hot.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the snake and shit.
Oh my
god.
god. She's like in her prime then too. Oh my
Oh,
god,
yeah.
this guy.
I haven't seen that, but I was gonna say, wasn't that like a thing he actually did?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
yeah. But that was his boy Robert Rodriguez hooking him up with that one.
And he acted in it. He's a pretty good
Oh,
actor
right.
too, Tarantino.
I liked him in that movie.
Yeah, me too.
He's a perfect skeevy guy.
Okay, what about the part every time she sees like the person that fucked her over and that music plays? Dun-dun-dun-dun, like that. I laugh every
Yeah, that's a good
I
one.
laugh every
I don't
time.
mind it. I like
I
it.
no, I love it. I laugh my ass off every time I see that shit.
No, and then that's been used in a bunch of things too. I feel like people have used like that music and the eye zoom in and some other things
sure,
since then.
Yeah. Shout out my sister Amy. She's the funniest person to watch a movie with. I was watching this with her, and she's like in that scene when Uma Thurman is fighting Vivica Fox. She's just like, look at these two soccer moms just go at it. Like she's like, this is like a soccer mom revenge story. I'm like, yeah, 100%. Like Uma Thurman throughout the whole movie gives off like major soccer mom vibes. Like when she's
Yeah,
like,
that is-
fucking-
That was
is
another
definitely-
line that I should have written down actually when she's talking to the kid. And she was like, if you find, if you're still mad about this in however many years,
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
be
come
waiting.
find me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a great.
Yeah, I have it written down here. I do have that.
There's been like talks of like making a Kill Bill Volume 3 with that character. I think
Yeah.
that was like sort of in the
That
ether
character
there.
and BB and some other people.
Well,
Yeah.
for a revenge movie, she did leave a lot of loose threads.
Yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure.
I mean, I know. Again, this is
We don't even know if Daryl Hannah's dead.
Well, she's not, but the fact that she can't really do much. She's blind now, right? Like in terms of trying. But you're right. She could do something, right?
Double eye patch in movie
Yeah,
3.
Maybe she learns to fight without sight, like
Right.
a blind sword.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
But I mean, she was also left with the deadly snake, so I mean.
Yeah.
Let me just see what else if I have any more quotes here.
I think
This little cunt's a spitter. I got that one right.
Nice.
I have a quote here from the detective. It was like, well, a sure and steady hand did this. This ain't no squirrely amateur. This is the work of a salty dog. You can tell by the cleanliness of the carnage. Now, a kill crazy rampage though it may be, all the colors are kept within the lines. If you was a moron, you could almost admire it. And I love that line, and I
yeah.
yeah,
Clark,
Earl McGraw, yeah. And so, and I love that line because I took it on this watch as like a fourth wall break of Tarantino being like, "You idiots, you just like all this gore, don't you? Eat it up." And it's like that's essentially what he's saying to us
But
there.
she plays with people sometimes in that same sense, right? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a big reason that he did that. He played with people's expectations the whole time.
Oh, the Bruce Stern scene.
Yeah.
That
which
was.
We've talked about. It's the one scene that doesn't work for me really, but
I've turned around on it recently. But we can get
yeah,
we can get into it later if we ever do that movie.
The ball and chain that that chick
Go-go?
uses, the young
Go-go.
girl, is awesome. She presses that button and that blade comes out.
Yeah.
The fact that she has like
that
just shows like the fantasy element of this movie. The fact that she has like a 17-year-old as her bodyguard, like who's in like school, I guess, because she has a schoolgirl uniform. Like, I don't know, it's just hilarious.
No, that's why it was like just screaming shonen to me, because there's like there's so many other things too where they like punch someone and they just like fly back and it's just like a small person punching them, and it's very, very anime.
I had this written down too, the Lucy Liu speech there. As your leader, I encourage you from time to time.
I love that part of
that. No subject will ever be taboo except for the one about my heritage. Mix Chinese, Japanese heritage.
Just like this fucker here. And then she's like, does anybody else have anything to say?
But the way she just gets up and like scoots across the table. But
The guy just waits. The guy just doesn't do anything. He just stands there. Like, his head chopped off.
So sick. Yeah, it's so sick.
And then interesting point, she's like super tight about that, right? And then in the end, like, I know this is a Kill Bill 2 thing. Oh wait, is it? No, it's Kill Bill 1. She's like to her, she's like a Caucasian. I forgot the line, but she basically brought up the fact that she's a Caucasian person wielding the sword, right? And so it's like that's just so counter to what she's so like. She's just projecting there, right? Because she's the one that's very split about her ethnicity.
I noticed in this and in Volume 2, there's a lot of like Chinese, Japanese like hate, like like lines as far as like characters are saying, and
the other guy in the second
movie,
he's like, I hate those fucking
Japs. Them Japs sure know how to hold a grudge.
It's like samurai swords are for fat Japanese fatheads or whatever. You remember?
Yeah, his fucking beard.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to start doing that when we talk about part 2.
Yeah. And I wonder if that was like another like thing that Tarantino was commentating on, like the tension between Chinese and Japanese people, like that probably still exists.
Yeah, I'm sure of it.
Another quote here I had written down. Sorry, I wrote my notes down on the phone for this one, so I'm like scrolling most of the time, unfortunately. Just the last line that she says, that really was a Hatari.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And she like collapses.
No, but she says it in Japanese and she goes,
Katana,
and then she fucking falls down like.
I love that. And then they kind of show it in this movie, but they do it also in the second one. So I'm gonna leave it for the second one. There's a Michael Madsen part they preview in this, but it actually repeats in the second movie. Okay. So I'll talk about it when we get to there. But I think that's pretty much all I had, honestly.
I feel like a lot of this is not a knock on the dialogue, but I feel like a lot of the dialogue feels like it was stripped from like a Saturday morning cartoon show or something like that. Like when she has Sophie in the trunk and she's like, this is the reason I let you keep your wicked life, and I'm like, who talks like this? Like this is such a like an ending of like a cartoon or something that you would watch as a kid, and even the fact that it even ends on a cliffhanger, like to be continued kind of thing. It's very like of that silk, you know.
I agree. I do think that it was split up really well, though. Like I think like where he picked to split it worked super well for me. Like I was just thinking about that as the movie ended. I was like, oh, that's so perfect. There's just enough left in the second part. Like, I think it was split at a good time.
Great cliffhanger.
Plus, you're left with that the cliffhanger of her finding out she has a daughter still, right? Yeah. And then you still don't know what exactly happened to her on that day, right? You're just kind of going off of whatever. Yeah, no, that's true. I had a couple of fun facts too about that I learned from his interview on the Blu-ray features. He saw Lucy Liu in Shanghai Noon, which is the Jackie Chan film, I think. Isn't it
Funny.
Yeah.
And Owen Wilson,
right? So he saw that movie, and he saw Lucy Liu in the movie, and that's where when he considered casting her for in this film. Actually, he talks about it in this clip I saw. Yeah. Well, that's what they say, though. I've heard actors talk about that. They say like that's how like even what's his name, who played Bryan Cranston, who played Walter White for Breaking Bad. He got that job because he worked with the director on an episode of X-Files. So he said that. I've heard him talk about that in an interview. He's like, that's why all the younger actors, it was like advice he gave to them. He's like, never phone anything in. Always give your best, even if it's a piece of shit fucking role. He's like, this way, you never know who's watching. You'll never know who you'll stick in someone's mind. Tarantino sees everything. You know what I mean? Like, so like, it's like one of those things where like Tarantino literally thought of Lucy Liu from that Shanghai Noon movie, right? Which is pretty crazy. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, Tarantino always writes really good roles for women. I feel like he champions like women like being like badasses more than most people. I feel like you just think of all the iconic like women roles in all his films, and they always knock it out of the park. I feel.
Yeah, there's lots of great ones he does. Yeah, Sonny Chiba, who's Hataro Hanzo there. He was on a show called Shadow Warriors, and that's where he first discovered him when he was younger, like watching that show on TV. And he said, like, on that show there was like all these different, I guess they like in Japan, he said, like, because they used to play on TV when he was younger in Japan, I guess they don't do full seasons. Like, they'll do a few episodes of something and then they'll let them run on TV, and if it's successful they'll go and reshoot more episodes and put it out, or they'll put it out as like movie features, like long episodes and stuff like that.
Shows in Japan, you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah. So he explained that like that's where he first seen that guy who's honestly, Sonny Chiba is great in this movie, right? Like when he plays Hanzo. Like it's kind of cool that he's also picking actors from actual Japanese things as well, like they put in here. It's not like he just put a bunch of Hollywood actors that, you know what I mean, just because their ethnicities or whatever. Well, he's actually pulling from actual, like, things like that.
Here's another thing maybe you'll appreciate. Sonny Chiba was in those Street Fighter movies, not the video game, but like his own series of films called Street Fighter, The Revenge of the Street Fighter, whatever. And that's the movie that was it Clarence, Christian Slater's character in True Romance. In the beginning of the movie, he goes to see those movies, those Sonny Chiba movies. There's a lot of that. There's like a lot of references from previous Tarantino stuff.
And inspirations for this movie, obviously, like some of the things he cited were Sergio Leone films, the movie Coffee, Bruce Lee films. Like, these are just things he said that he was kind of vibing on at the time, right? So, anything else? Scenes, quotes?
Nah, I ran through all of mine.
All right. Well, I don't know. Parth, since this was your pick, is there any other final things you want to say on Volume 1, though, as we kind of bring it home then soon? Because we'll get into Volume 2. Make sure to check it out, everybody, next week. There'll be even a bigger discussion kind of summarizing our thoughts on this film as a whole in Part 2. But Parth, anything else?
I think we've talked about a lot of things. I think Tarantino kind of just established himself as the king of gore and king of action. He hadn't yet, but now he's saying that I'm the king of that too. And I just think it's just it was an amazing movie to watch through and through. The music makes it. There was like when they go into that anime scene, just playing some country or like the Western music, like the clash of all that is kind of the whole vibe of this whole movie. Is just a mix of everything Tarantino likes, like anime, westerns, exploitation films, everything. It's just all smushed into one, and it's an amazing movie because of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. It's a good one. I'm looking forward to talking about possibly top 5 Tarantino films in the second part as well. Julie, anything else?
I quite enjoyed it, and I had no beef.
Wow, a rare occurrence on this show.
Yeah, exactly. I had no complaints. Nothing about Part 1.
Oh, I have one question. Was the plane? Was that a toy?
The plane that flies into the city? I don't know. Maybe.
Was that like like him doing like weird, that whole scene of looking at the city and the plane? It seemed like, was that like a toy, like Godzilla movie type of movie?
I think it was a literal Godzilla movie set.
Right.
That's what I saw it in an Easter egg video later, but it was literal the Godzilla, the set they used for that, the minis.
Right? Okay. Yeah. I thought so, because when I was watching it, I'm like, something feels off about this, when there's this like plane like zoom in, because I'm like, this isn't obviously a real plane shot, and it isn't animated. So I'm like, what? It's not like a CG. I'm like, what is this? I think it's a toy.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Okay.
I just wanted
to believe from the video I saw. Yeah.
I just want to say, I mean, obviously this is a fantastic film, and I don't. Tarantino always makes good movies, but I just wanted to say, like, because you brought up that anime scene, I just remembered this. I don't know if this movie premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. I don't know if it did, but if it did, I just imagine like him showing this movie to like a high elite French yuppie society, and everyone's in like tuxedos and shit and bows, and they're watching an anime sequence, and I'm just thinking to myself, that's amazing. Like the fact that like Tarantino like he takes these like genres that I don't think got a lot of respect really, and as far as like high society like art critics are concerned. I don't think people looked at like anime with that respect, or any of these other like exploitation movies, for sure not kung fu. And he, maybe like a cheap word, but he kind of like, not that those movies were bad or anything, it just they had that stigma, but he almost like elevates them into like high art that like these people can like, even these people can appreciate it. And he's like it's very rare, and he's like maybe the only one I've seen pull that off.
He's not afraid to say what he likes. He
Exactly.
likes what he likes. Like I've seen him talk in other things before, to your point, other directors around the director roundtables and stuff like that, and he's referencing things these guys
like
probably,
kids would like and
right,
shit. Like
Dragon Ball
he's
Z,
not afraid to be
but he's
that.
not afraid to kind of say, I
Yeah.
like this and why he likes it, and he'll tell you why he likes it at length.
I remember there was that directors roundtable thing, and they were talking about like most iconic scenes or whatever, and Danny Boyle is talking about like 2001.
Right.
They're just saying all the same shit
And he
that everyone.
threw something out there.
He says Jackie Chan
Yeah,
in Police
yeah,
Story
yeah,
3, and
yeah.
I'm like,
And all
that's
these-
why I love
And all
Tarantino.
these guys are just like, what?
No, they're all laughing at because I think no, laughing like that because I think they see that he's not afraid to be himself, and it's like
That's right.
it's very admirable actually, and so that's what I admire the most, and I think
He's
that's
a
why the whole
fierce
world-
defender of his passions.
Absolutely, I think that's why
Yeah.
the whole world loves his stuff, bro. Like, you know, these are like,
I wouldn't say the whole world. There's a lot of
Ooh.
people that don't like Tarantino.
okay, we're not talking about those lame people. All the cool people like Tarantino. If you're cool, if you like Tarantino, you're cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because Tarantino's a cool guy.
I think this is a good test. If you make somebody watch this movie and they don't
Yeah.
like this movie,
litmus
then
test.
don't even bother with
Yeah.
anything else. Although,
Give them Spotlight or something to watch. I don't know.
hey, watch it. Although, I can also understand the same way that there's too much of that stuff in this movie. Like,
Yeah,
you know what
but
I mean?
I think
Like,
it's meant to be like,
but I get why somebody also
Yeah.
wouldn't like this because of
like we were just saying,
that.
like
I would never hold that against
like
somebody.
Jackie Brown is like Tarantino at his most restrained, and Kill Bill, especially Volume 1, is his most unrestrained. Like, he just throws all the pain at the wall.
It makes perfect sense why
know?
this came after as a result. Of
Absolutely,
this conversation.
absolutely.
And he put Inglorious Bastards on the back burner. He was
Yeah.
planning on doing his war epic, as he was referring it to at that time. He didn't even have the name for it. He was calling it his war epic. And then he was like, I was in the middle of writing that script. He's like, it was taking me way too long, and I kept going over it.
Mhm.
So then he said he put it on the back burner and kind of dusted this idea off that him and Uma talked about on Pulp Fiction.
Mhm.
And kind of move forward with this. So that's kind of why he. But you're right. I think I wonder if we would have got this movie if he didn't do it right after Jackie Brown, which wasn't well critically received. Because you're talking about that was his follow up after Pulp Fiction. This should have been his follow up after Pulp Fiction.
No. I think everything happened for a reason.
But then again, you do the one for them.
You
one
wouldn't
for-
have Kill
one
Bill
for them,
if
one
not
for
for
me,
Jackie
kind
Brown.
of thing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah. So
I feel like Vivica was like channeling like Pam Grier a bit in this. Like, she was kind of like, you know, like the descendant of Pam Grier in a sense, like spiritually, you know. So
I got that vibe too.
you know,
I like you were saying. I think they all need to be there for them to exist, and it kind of
Absolutely.
like calms the audience down a little bit too. Like, it gets them like, oh, okay, so he can do this kind of stuff, and then he jumps out with the super high packed action. And it's like, okay, so it's just like kind of getting an understanding of how far Tarantino can go and getting used to that. And I think that was, I mean, I didn't get to watch them all live come out, but I think like if I was, I would have been like, oh man, this guy does all sorts of stuff. I'm so invested.
yeah.
he's like that type of guy that what does this saying go? He bangs to the sound of his own drum. How does that thing?
Yeah.
Like, he totally like he does what he wants.
Right.
He
that's-
marches to the beat of his own drum.
There we go,
thank
there we
you.
go.
That's
Sorry,
a
that
was
JT
either.
quote. He
I was-
bangs
I was-
to the beat of his own drum.
What did I say?
Bangs.
I don't even fuck. Sorry.
That's
I
like a
know what you
JT-ism.
Yeah, I was like, that's why I said, how does
No,
that
I was
saying
with
go?
it.
Because at least I prepped this. I didn't act like I knew some shit I didn't.
That's
is
cool.
the JT that is the
True.
JT-ism, though.
That's
There you
true.
go.
At least
I'm
you
making
owned up to it.
bro. By the way, shout out Jay, bro.
Yeah, I was
Miss
gonna
you,
say
boy.
he's not here with us today, but
He's
there
here in
you go.
spirit.
There you
know.
go.
I
so-
jumped in on his stream and I was talking shit in the comments. Don't worry about it.
Oh God. Are you doing like both at the same time? Like
Yeah.
here and there?
I texted. I said I'm coming to you live from the other room, and he shouted us out on their stream.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, awesome movie. Tarantino rocks. Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't say this on the top of the show, but that's why Jay wasn't able to join us here today. But you know, rest in peace to him.
Oh God.
I'll have to catch him some other time. I was looking forward to meeting him.
You'll be disappointed when she.
Yeah, that's it.
Hell no. Hell
I'm
no,
not saying
man.
shit,
I'm
bro.
a fellow pothead, so I can relate with him.
No, I can't. It's all in jest, anyways. Max is so sacred. He's like, I can't even touch that. All right.
No, I can't. I don't know. There's certain things I don't joke about. You know.
Yeah. You don't want to put that energy out.
Yeah. It's like I'm like superstitious in that regard.
Anyway,
Yeah.
let's talk about that scene again. That with David Carradine in this film.
I knew you were going there. You sick fuck.
Okay. No. Let's bring it home. All right, guys. That's gonna do it for Kill Bill Volume 1. Thank you to Parth who joined us here today, and he will be on Volume 2 as well. So make sure to there you go.
Hey, let's go.
He'll be on Volume 2 as well with us, guys. So make sure to tune into that the following week after this one comes out. There'll be no late night letterbox that week, but you will get Part 2 for Volume 2 here of Kill Bill with all the same crew here. And thank you to everyone as always. Like and subscribe. And yeah, I guess that's it. All right, should we play us out here?
Let's do it.